Something divine is about to take place after this time passes. The Spirit of God is moving in ways many cannot yet see. But those who are sensitive to His voice can feel the shift already beginning. Heaven has been preparing something special for this next season, and those who have remained faithful, those who have prayed in silence, those who have endured the fire without giving up, will soon see the purpose behind their pain. You may not realize it, but everything you have faced until now was not a punishment, it was preparation. There are moments in history when God chooses to reveal His plans, and we are standing at the edge of one right now. After this appointed time, something new is going to emerge, new strength, new direction, new favor. The doors that seemed locked will begin to open, and the confusion that surrounded you will be replaced with clarity and peace. God is about to shift His people from delay into destiny. The tests you went through were not meant to destroy you, but to refine you for what's coming next. This is not a season to fear. It's a season to align your spirit with heaven's voice. God is not silent, He's strategic. He has been working behind the scenes, setting things in order, positioning people, preparing opportunities that will soon manifest. So, if you can feel something stirring in your spirit, if your heart senses that something great is on the horizon, it's because heaven is confirming it to you. After this time passes, a divine unfolding will begin, one that reminds you that God never forgets His promises and His timing is always perfect. God uses seasons of silence to prepare His people for sudden revelation. There are moments in life when it feels as though heaven has gone quiet, when your prayers echo into what feels like emptiness, and you begin to wonder if God has forgotten your name. But the truth is, silence is never absence. When God seems silent, it's because He is working in ways you can not yet perceive. He is preparing something within you before He reveals something to you. Every great move of God is preceded by a season of quiet transformation. It's in that stillness that He builds your character, strengthens your faith, and matures your spirit. The silence is not punishment, it's preparation. God uses it to refine your heart, to strip away distractions, and to draw you into a deeper dependence on Him. While you're waiting, heaven is arranging, aligning, and preparing everything for the revelation that will change your direction. In every story of faith, there is a period when God hides His hand. Look at the life of Moses, 40 years in the wilderness before his calling was revealed. Joseph was thrown into a pit and left in prison before his dream was fulfilled. David was anointed as king, but returned to tend sheep before ever touching a throne. These men didn't see the silence as rejection, they endured it as preparation. Because in silence, God strengthens what He plans to use. He doesn't rush your development, He refines it. There are lessons that can only be learned in waiting, strength that can only be built through patience, and clarity that can only come through stillness. When everything seems paused, God is actually perfecting. The world sees silence as delay, but heaven sees it as divine strategy. God's plan for your life is never rushed or random. It unfolds in the exact timing that will reveal His glory and your growth. In the silence, God teaches you to hear His whisper. When you can no longer depend on noise, you learn to discern His voice. He quiets everything around you so you can focus on Him within you. The distractions that once filled your mind start to fade, and you begin to realize that what you called silence was actually God's invitation for intimacy. It's in these moments that your roots grow deeper. You stop chasing signs and start seeking His presence. You start understanding that His delay is not denial but divine discipline, a process of molding your spirit to carry greater revelation. Many people want God's blessings, but few are willing to endure the silence that shapes them to receive it. Because when God reveals something suddenly, It's always after a period of quiet building. The silence is sacred ground. It's where destiny is formed and faith is proven. So if you find yourself in a season where nothing seems to be moving, understand that it's not the end, it's the in-between, the sacred space where God shifts things beneath the surface. Seeds don't make noise when they grow. They break silently underground before they rise. Likewise, God's work in your life often begins in the unseen. You might not hear Him, but He's speaking through the process. You might not see Him, but He's shaping your tomorrow while you stand in today. Every tear, every prayer, every quiet night is being recorded in heaven. When the time comes, the silence will break, and what God has been preparing will be revealed suddenly. Those who waited faithfully in silence will recognize His voice clearly when the revelation arrives, because they learned to listen when the world was loud but heaven was still. After the waiting, divine alignment will bring clarity, favor, and breakthrough. Every delay that tested your patience was part of a heavenly plan you couldn't yet see. God never wastes time, He redeems it. When He makes you wait, He's not denying your prayers, He's aligning your life, your heart, and your surroundings with His perfect purpose. Divine alignment means everything begins to fall into place according to heaven's order. The people you need begin to appear, opportunities begin to open, and doors that were once closed start unlocking effortlessly. But this alignment only happens after the waiting. Waiting purifies your desires, filters your motives, and builds your strength so that when the moment comes, you are ready to carry the blessing without breaking under its weight. The period of waiting is never a void. It's a recalibration, a divine repositioning of everything concerning your destiny. When divine alignment begins, confusion turns into clarity. What once felt uncertain suddenly makes sense. The pain that didn't seem to have a purpose starts connecting with the promise God spoke long ago. It's like watching the pieces of a puzzle finally fit together after years of not understanding the picture. God begins to reveal why certain relationships ended, why doors stayed closed, and why you had to walk alone for a while. You start to see that every disappointment was redirection, every no was protection, and every delay was divine design. Clarity doesn't just come as information, it comes as revelation. You no longer rely on your understanding because you begin to see through God's perspective. What was once heavy starts to feel light because you realize that even your setbacks were steps toward your setup. The fog that surrounded your path lifts, and suddenly, your spirit can see where God has been leading you all along. Then comes the favor. Divine favor isn't something you chase. It's something that finds you when you're in the right place spiritually and mentally. When you are aligned with God's timing, things begin to happen with ease. The same opportunities that once seemed unreachable start seeking you. People begin to recognize your worth, not because you changed who you are, but because you finally stepped into the space God designed for you. Favor opens doors that effort alone never could. It brings acceleration after years of waiting, restoration after seasons of loss. When favor comes, it feels as if everything you prayed for suddenly begins to unfold, but it's not sudden. It's the manifestation of years of divine orchestration. Heaven rewards those who waited with faith, those who didn't give up when the silence was long. Favor is God's public evidence of His private preparation in your life. And then, breakthrough, the moment when everything shifts, when what once felt stuck begins to move. Breakthrough doesn't just change your situation, it changes your vision. It's the release of everything heaven has been storing up for the right moment. Breakthrough happens when your faith, obedience, and patience align perfectly with God's timing. You feel it in your spirit before you see it in your life. It's that sudden peace in your heart that tells you something is about to change, that the waiting wasn't in vain. Breakthrough is not just about receiving what you prayed for. It's about becoming who you were meant to be all along. When divine alignment takes place, you realize God was never late. He was waiting for you to grow into the person who could handle the blessing. The waiting season ends not because time passed, but because transformation happened. Alignment brings clarity, clarity ushers in favor, and favor opens the door to breakthrough, all orchestrated perfectly by the one who sees the end from the beginning. What seemed delayed was never denied. It was being perfected in heaven's timing. God's clock doesn't run by human calendars. His plan moves according to divine order. You might look at your life and wonder why certain prayers haven't been answered, why some dreams seem far away, or why doors that should have opened are still shut. But God's delays are never denials. They are divine pauses filled with purpose. Heaven operates on precision, not pressure. Every delay in your life has a hidden reason behind it. A lesson to learn, a person to meet, a strength to gain, or a version of you that needs to emerge before the blessing can arrive. When God makes you wait, it's not to frustrate you, but to prepare you for the fullness of what He's bringing. His blessings are not half-formed. They come in completion, perfected by His hand and released at the exact moment they will do the most good in your life. Sometimes what feels like stagnation is actually divine synchronization. God is aligning every detail, every connection, and every opportunity so that when the right moment comes, everything fits together flawlessly. You see only fragments of the story, but God sees the entire picture. You think something is being delayed, but God is working on multiple layers, refining your character, shaping the hearts of others, and preparing environments that will sustain your blessing. If He released what you prayed for too early, it could crush you instead of elevate you. Just as fruit is not picked before it's ripe, your promise is not delivered before it's mature. God's process takes time because perfection takes patience. What He is building in you is eternal, not temporary. And though you may not see progress, every moment of waiting is a brick being laid in the foundation of your destiny. There is beauty in divine timing. The world rushes, but heaven never hurries. When God orchestrates a breakthrough, it comes suddenly, but that suddenness is always the result of a long hidden process. A seed takes time to grow beneath the soil before it ever breaks through the surface. Likewise, your promise is germinating in unseen places. You don't see the movement, but heaven does. And when the time is right, that invisible growth becomes visible transformation. You'll look back one day and realize that what you called delay was actually divine perfection. The timing wasn't wrong. Your preparation was just not yet complete. God's love for you is too deep to give you something before you're ready to carry it. That's why sometimes He withholds the very thing you desire most. Not because He wants to punish you, but because He wants to preserve you. Every delay has a purpose greater than your understanding. God is never behind schedule. What He promised is still on its way, but it's being molded in heaven's timing. Refined through your patience, strengthened by your faith, and sealed by your obedience. When that appointed time comes, everything that once felt impossible will begin to move effortlessly. You will see why certain things didn't work out, why some relationships ended, and why certain opportunities slipped away. The delay was God's way of protecting you from lesser versions of His plan. He was saving you for something greater. His timing carries precision. Not one moment too soon, not one moment too late. The doors He opens in His time will not close, and the blessings He releases will not fade. What felt delayed was never denied. It was being divinely perfected, crafted with love, and prepared with your name written upon it. waiting for the perfect moment to be revealed in your life. Faith, prayer, and spiritual readiness will determine who receives the coming outpouring. When God is about to release something powerful upon the earth, He always searches for hearts that are prepared. It is not about how loud someone prays or how much they know, but about the posture of their heart before Him. Faith opens the door that doubt keeps closed. Prayer keeps the fire burning when the world grows cold. Spiritual readiness positions you to recognize what others overlook. Many will hear about the move of God, but only those who have cultivated faith and prayer will experience it firsthand. God's blessings are not scattered randomly. They are directed toward those who are aligned with His will. Faith is not just believing that something will happen. It is trusting that even in silence, God is still working. Prayer is not only speaking to God, it is remaining connected when nothing makes sense. And readiness is not waiting passively. It is living with expectation that any moment could be the moment when heaven moves. The world after October 20 may not look the same as before. Seasons are shifting and spiritual atmospheres are changing. God is calling His people to rise above distraction and enter deeper into His presence. Those who are spiritually asleep may miss the signs of what is coming, but those who stay awake in faith will see clearly. When the world shakes, faith becomes the anchor. When confusion spreads, prayer becomes the compass. And when fear tries to invade, spiritual readiness becomes the fortress. You cannot expect to experience divine outpouring while living with a divided heart. God fills vessels that are empty of pride, fear, and compromise. He does not pour His Spirit into those who are distracted by the noise of the world. He pours into those who have made room for Him. Faith builds the capacity for that outpouring. Prayer purifies the heart to hold it. Readiness ensures that when it comes, you do not lose it. Every great move of God in history began with people who were ready before others even noticed what was coming. They didn't wait to see a sign. They became the sign through their faith and obedience. While others questioned, they believed. While others slept, they prayed. While others hesitated, they prepared. And when heaven opened, they were the first to receive. That pattern never changes because God still honors the faithful. You cannot receive a harvest if you never sowed in prayer. You cannot walk through a door you were not prepared to open. Many ask for blessings they are not yet equipped to handle. But those who keep their hearts ready, who wake up each day saying, "Lord, I'm available," are the ones who catch what others miss. Readiness is more than activity. It is alignment. It means living in such a way that if God said, "Now," you wouldn't need to fix your heart first. Faith, prayer, and readiness are not separate forces. They strengthen each other. Faith drives you to pray. Prayer keeps your faith alive. Readiness keeps both in motion. Together, they create a spiritual current that attracts heaven's response. When God releases His outpouring, it will not be to the strongest or the most visible, but to those who have quietly walked in trust when nothing seemed to happen. He will pour into those who prayed when it was easier to quit, who believed when logic said stop, and who stayed ready when others grew weary. Every act of faith you've made has been seen. Every prayer you whispered has been heard, and every moment you chose to stay ready has positioned you closer to that divine release. The outpouring is not for those who watch. It is for those who prepare, those who let their hearts be purified, their faith be tested, and their spirits be steady. When it comes, it will not be random. It will be targeted. Heaven always knows where to pour. Those who live by faith, pray without ceasing, and remain spiritually ready will find themselves standing right where the blessing falls. There will always come a moment when heaven separates those who only listened from those who truly believed. This is the season when faith will no longer be a quiet idea, but a living force that carries power and authority. Many will talk about trust in God, but only a few will walk in it when the path becomes uncertain. God is raising a people who can stand firm when others bend, who can speak light when darkness tries to take over, and who can hold their peace while the storm rages around them. Faith in this time will not be about comfort. It will be about conviction. The ones who walk in unshakable belief will be the ones who unlock what others only dream about. Their prayers will move mountains not because they are louder, but because they are rooted in unwavering confidence that God's word does not return empty. The coming days will test every believer's foundation. What is built on emotion will fall. What is built on revelation will stand. God is searching for faith that doesn't waver when the evidence seems absent. Real faith is not shown when everything is working, but when everything looks still and you choose to keep believing. It is that unbreakable trust that says, even if I don't see it yet, I know He's still moving. Heaven responds to that kind of faith. Angels are released when someone stands firm despite not seeing progress. The unseen world begins to shift because one person refuses to doubt. This is why God allows seasons of silence and waiting, to see who truly believes. When you stand firm in faith through the dark, you declare that your trust is not tied to your circumstances. You tell heaven and hell that you will not move until God's promise comes to pass. Such faith is rare, but it carries authority. It turns ordinary people into instruments of divine power. Prayer in this season will become more than a habit. It will become the language of survival and strength. Those who know how to pray will not be shaken. The world may change, but the one who prays with faith remains stable. Every word you pray with conviction becomes a seed planted in the spiritual realm, and every seed of faith has a time to bloom. Prayer connects you to heaven's rhythm, keeping you aligned with what God is doing even when you don't understand it. When others panic, you will find peace. When others give up, you will hear a whisper that says, keep going. That is the power of connection through prayer. It is not just communication, it is preparation. It shapes your heart, strengthens your vision, and positions you for what God is about to release. Spiritual readiness will separate the expectant from the unprepared. It is not enough to believe that something will happen. You must also be ready to carry it. Readiness means discipline, focus, and surrender. It means removing distractions that keep you from hearing God's direction. It means letting go of fear, bitterness, and doubt so that your heart stays pure. Many people miss divine moments because they are too busy trying to control what God has already promised to handle. But those who are ready are not restless. They are alert, sensitive to the voice of God, and aware that any day could be the day heaven opens. When you live like that, you attract divine timing instead of chasing it. The spiritually ready do not react. They respond with peace because they have already prepared their spirit for what's next. This next move will not come to the careless, but to the committed. It will not fall upon those who treat faith as a performance, but upon those who live it as their foundation. God's outpouring after this season will not be random. It will flow into lives that have been purified through patience, stretched by faith, and strengthened through prayer. The waiting, the silence, the struggle, it was all training for this moment. Every battle you faced, every tear you shed, every prayer you whispered in the dark was forming you for what is now approaching. The outpouring will not surprise those who have walked closely with God. They will recognize it because they have already tasted the presence that precedes it. They will not be moved by fear or confusion because their hearts are anchored in the truth that God finishes everything He starts. Everything you lost, Everything that hurt, everything that felt delayed, it was all part of the preparation for what's coming after October 20. Heaven has not forgotten you. The silence was never rejection. It was God setting the stage for your comeback. The same doors that once refused to open will swing wide when His timing strikes. The same people who overlooked you will watch God elevate you in ways they can't explain. You've cried, you've fought, you've prayed, and heaven heard every word. Now the shift is near. When the world starts shaking, stay still in faith. When confusion rises, keep your eyes on God. Because what's about to unfold is bigger than your imagination. You are not watching this by mistake. You are part of the move that's coming. Your story isn't ending in struggle, it's beginning in strength. God is about to prove that His promises don't expire. The wait is almost over, and the next chapter will make sense of everything that didn't. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, and get ready for the outpouring that's on the way. And if this message spoke to your soul, then don't just scroll away. Subscribe to this channel right now and stay connected. Because what God is about to reveal next could be the word that changes your life forever. Your miracle is closer than you think. Stay ready. Stay faithful. Your season is here.